On a dusty street in a small African village, Musa is approached by an attractive couple claiming to be doctors. Dressed in crisp white coats with medical bags attached, they offer Musa an opportunity to settle in America and pursue his dreams more freely. Although initially skeptical, he eventually agrees to accompany them for a medical examination at one of their nearby clinics. The couple took him to a remote area, where they perform a medical examination on him. Though nervous, Musa trusts their professionalism. They ask him questions about his medical history, take blood samples and ask him to sign some papers but assure him it's only formality. After the examination is complete, the couple offers to take him out for lunch to celebrate good health. Little does Musa realize his life will soon take a dark turn. At lunch, Musa's drink was drugged by the couple and he quickly passed out. When he awoke, he found himself in an unfamiliar room wearing a bandage and suffering sharp pain, an indication he'd been operated upon. Musa panics as his leg weakens under him while trying to stand. Just then the door opens and armed guards enter with more victims, all missing kidneys. Musa understands to his horror that his kidney had been harvested illegally from him by this couple and now fears his kidney has been sold on black market sites. At first, Musa feels alone and betrayed, until he meets other victims who have also been victimized by this couple and their promises of a better life abroad. Only then were they drugged and operated upon without their consent. Musa feels angry and betrayed but cannot escape because guards are constantly watching him. One day, Musa and other victims are visited by a couple who reveals to them that they have removed one of Musa's kidneys and sold it on the black market. While justifying their actions by saying they're helping those in need, Musa sees through their lies. Confronting them, he demanded answers as to why they were doing this. Instead of taking responsibility, the couple laughed in response, saying it's just business, as Musa felt sick to his stomach. Musa became convinced countless innocent victims had been lost to their greed. Musa and her fellow victims are left to suffer alone in a cell, struggling to overcome the physical and emotional trauma that they've endured. While they do their best to provide each other with support, it can be challenging when everyone's pain is so intense. One day Musa notices one of his fellow victims is in critical condition requiring urgent medical assistance, yet guards refuse to transport him to a hospital. Eventually this person dies soon afterward, leaving Musa even more terrified and desperate for assistance than before. Chilemba, meanwhile, is investigating the disappearances of several people in his area, Musa among them, by following leads and piecing together what happened. One day he receives information regarding a suspicious clinic where people were being held against their will. Chilemba decided to check it out by posing as a potential victim to gain entry and was shocked at what he found inside. Chilemba dedicates weeks of collecting evidence against the couple and their associates, sharing it with law enforcement agencies as a joint investigation effort. They plan a raid of the clinic where they arrest both couples as well as guards from it. Chilemba is dismayed at their scale of operation and cruelty, vowing that justice be served against both couples for their crimes against victims. The couple is taken into custody and charged with organ trafficking, kidnapping and fraud. They hire a high-profile attorney to defend them and secure bail, but victims' families and the public are outraged by their actions and demand they remain in detention until trial begins. Chilemba fears they might flee the country or intimidate witnesses if released. Thus he works tirelessly alongside prosecutor to argue against bail and keep the couple behind bars until trial day arrives. The couple's lawyer asserts that they should be released on bail, as they are innocent until proven guilty and have never had any prior run-ins with law. Unfortunately, however, a judge was unconvinced and denied their bail application due to seriousness of crime and risk of flight, much to the relief of victims' families and public alike who hope justice will finally be served. Chilemba and prosecutor continue preparing for trial by gathering evidence against the couple. Trial begins, with courtroom packed with victims' families, media and concerned citizens. A couple plead not guilty to all charges and their lawyer mounts a vigorous defense. But prosecution has an overwhelming case and presents compelling evidence against them, including testimony from victims themselves and their families. Protesters demand justice while outside demanding an end to organ trafficking. Trial lasts weeks as both sides present arguments and evidence to the jury. As the trial progresses, evidence against the couple mounts. Witnesses provide testimony regarding their involvement in illegal organ trading and its devastating impact on victims. Their lawyer attempts to poke holes in the prosecution's case but fails miserably. An important witness takes the stand and testifies about a couple's involvement in illegal organ trading. He details being approached by them with promises of better lives overseas only to be drugged and operated on without his consent, experiencing incredible pain and trauma as a result. Attempts by their lawyer to discredit him fail, leaving the jury shocked at what has occurred despite attempts at discrediting him. In turn, his testimony moved them greatly and opened their eyes further as to their crimes against society. The trial takes an explosive turn when former patients of the couple come forward to testify against them and reveal how they were promised better lives abroad, only to wake up without kidneys and describe their shock and horror when realizing what had happened to them. Their lawyer attempts to discredit these witnesses, but their stories remain compelling. Therefore, the jury becomes stunned by these revelations, beginning to see the couple for who they truly are: heartless criminals preying upon those most vulnerable among us. After weeks of testimony and evidence, the trial finally draws to a close. The judge instructs the jury to deliberate on its verdict, retreating into their jury room as everyone awaits for its verdict. After several hours of deliberation, they return with their verdict. The couple were found guilty on all counts of organ trafficking, kidnapping, fraud, etc. Victims' families as well as public were relieved that justice has finally been served and taken into custody until sentencing. Assets owned by the couple were seized and distributed as compensation to victims and their families as restitution for harm done, while victims received medical treatment and counseling to cope with physical and emotional scarring caused by them. Chilemba appealed the verdict, but his appeal was denied. Instead, they are sentenced to life without parole, much to the relief of the victims' families and the general public. Chilemba felt satisfied that justice had been done, yet knew his fight against organ trafficking wasn't over yet. Musa and the other victims struggle with the aftermath of their ordeal, feeling violated, angry and traumatized by what transpired. Counseling sessions and support groups provide much-needed emotional processing while healing takes place. Musa expresses his thanks for their support while vowing to use his experience as an organ trafficker to raise awareness. He speaks publicly about what he experienced while becoming an advocate for victims in an illegal trade, but even after experiencing horrific incidents, they find strength in each other and the mission to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Chilemba was struck by the horrors of organ trafficking when he discovered this case, knowing there are likely many more victims still waiting to be discovered and rescued. To combat it, Chilemba collaborates with international law enforcement agencies in cracking down on illegal trade activities and prosecuting its perpetrators, traveling throughout different countries with law enforcement to raise awareness. Chilemba finds meaning and purpose in his work, knowing it's making a difference, vowing to continue this fight until organ trafficking has been eradicated for good. Musa and the other victims attend a support group for organ trafficking survivors, where they share their stories and find comfort from each other's company. They discuss ways to raise awareness and prevent other victims from suffering the same fate, while Musa feels empowered and inspired to make an impactful difference in his world. Chilemba connects with fellow activists who share his passion for justice. Years later, Musa stands on stage at an international conference on human trafficking, sharing his story to an attentive audience and exhorting them to act against organ trafficking. Chilemba, and other activists who helped him along his journey, can be seen here, giving Musa inspiration. Seeing them out there reminded him how far he had come since meeting the couple who would change his life forever. With support from his community, they can make an impactful difference in the world. When his speech ended, a standing ovation was given him. Thanks for watching. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. See you in the next video.